Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got a bit of a request video where we're going to dive back into programming and some of these concepts about how we gain strength. And this one's going to be an interesting video because we're going to take a look at this idea of heavy singles. You see it all the time on social media, Instagram. Your favorite lifters are probably consistently posting heavy singles that they do in their training. And I think this can be a bit misleading, right? Because let's think about it. Social media viewers love heavy work, right? Heavy singles. Now, I'm not saying that these lifters do it because of the Instagram views, right? That might play a role in some people's training. But what I am saying is you are going to see this a lot on social media, but in the background, these lifters are doing other things that may actually be more of a contributing factor in their progress than the singles themselves. So just understand that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so before we get into rep ranges and things like that, first we have to talk about the two systems that are going to control the strength in your body. The first is the muscular system. This one's possibly the most obvious. This is going to include your muscles, tendons, and your bone structure. Sometimes you'll hear this called the musculoskeletal system as well. Right? Now, when people think of this system, they're usually thinking growing muscle, muscle growth. That's gaining weight, gaining muscle mass. That's going to be the first way that we can get stronger. The second system that's going to be involved is your central nervous system. You might also hear this called your CNS. This is going to include your brain and spine, and this essentially sends electrical impulses to your muscles to tell them when to fire, right? So if you've ever heard of practice makes perfect, that's the idea of honing in your central nervous system to learn to fire those muscles when you need to. And I also put the note here about electrolytes, sodium, potassium. Those are going to be needed to allow your body to efficiently send those electrical charges across the synapses and the nerves as needed. Okay, so now that we have the general background on the muscular system and the central nervous system down, now we can take a look at, hey, what are these ways that these two things are going to work in tandem to actually make us stronger? So if we take example A here, I've gone ahead and drawn a simple lever system. Now this lever represents your arm, right? So this joint is going to be the lifter's elbow, and then we will pretend there's a weight at the end of the hand, and then this represents your upper arm, and you have the musculature, we'll call this the bicep in this example. Now, for this lifter in the example, right, we've got three muscle fibers, right? I've overly simplified this to get my point across. So in this example, we've got three muscle fibers that could possibly fire. Now, as we had discussed, this is the muscular system, and then what's responsible for getting this to fire is your central nervous system. So your central nervous system sends an electrical impulse to your muscles, telling them to fire from your brain, saying, hey, go ahead and bend the arm. Now, no one is 100% efficient. So in this example, let's go ahead and say lifter A is 33% efficient with his CNS, right? And what that means is his central nervous system can get 33% of his muscles to fire at one time. What that means is whenever he thinks or she thinks to bend that joint, the CNS will get one of these fibers to go at once. Okay, and maybe that fiber kicks off and another one kicks on at any given time, maintaining this 33% efficiency. Okay, so lifter A wants to get stronger. Okay, there's two ways this lifter can do it. The first way is going to be the obvious way, which is to increase muscle, right? So to increase muscle, that's going to be your muscular system, right? As you break these down over time, your body will create more and create more muscle mass, and possibly lifter A could go from 3 muscle fibers now to 6. So if that lifter kept the same exact efficiency on their lifting, then what that means is instead of 1 muscle fiber firing at once, all of a sudden they have 2, right? So effectively they have become twice as strong because they can get twice as many fibers to go at once to actually apply force to this weight on the lever system. And that's where the physics comes in. Now, the second way that we can get stronger is actually to train the central nervous system. So let's say instead of lifter A gaining so much muscle mass, instead he does exercises that can make this more efficient. And instead of 33% efficiency, it goes to 66 or 67, 2/3. You get the idea. Now all of a sudden, that lifter can keep the same amount of muscle mass, and instead of getting just 1 fiber to fire at once, they get 2. And they have doubled in strength while not changing in size at all. So this ability to train both the central nervous system and the muscular system allows us to get stronger in 2 different ways through 2 different types of training. And also, just to make it clear to everyone, this is why you can have smaller lifters who don't gain a ton of weight, but they still get stronger. Normal people may think to themselves, how are they getting stronger without gaining weight? This is how. Their muscles are becoming more efficient rather than relying on the muscular system to gain size, to gain strength. Now, the true gains can be made when we utilize both of these, right? We can gain mass and if we can increase efficiency, like so. So now that we understand how the CNS and muscular system work in tandem to actually make you stronger throughout movements, we can actually take a look at repetitions in training and how you can use these in order to use both systems to become the most efficient. Now, I made a bit of an inflammatory remark to start the video where I said, heavy singles are not the key to getting strong. Now, I might have been a little bit dramatic here because singles certainly have a place in getting strong. But my point was singles may not need to be as emphasized as some of these other rep ranges that get neglected on social media. So people don't see them and they end up getting neglected. And as a byproduct, this is what happens. So looking at this, I just simply broke down some rep ranges for us. Basically, I've got 1 to 3s, 4s to 7s, and then sets of 8 to 12s. I would say those are pretty common rep ranges for powerlifters for the squat, bench, and deadlift. This can be applied to other lifts as well. Now, basically how this works is as you go down in repetitions, right, you move further down this line, you are going to be training your nervous system more and more. Your nervous system will get more efficient from holding heavy weight and lifting heavy weight. Comes back to specificity that we talked about last week. The more specific, the more you're training this nervous system. Now, as you move up and heavier in weight, less in reps, you're actually training your muscular system less and less as the total volume goes down. So what can happen is if someone sees heavy singles going on and that's all they do, right? If you know someone who goes into the gym, loves to max out and then leave, they're training their central nervous system, but they're not getting the volume necessary to increase their muscularity on that muscular system. And that's where these rep ranges come in, right? The quote unquote easy work. That's going to build that base of a volume to increase muscularity. And this is where having different training blocks comes in, and you can have more volume at times. And then as you ramp up to a meet, you can start training your central nervous system. Think of it like this base, the more muscle you build, right? That's more muscle that's available. And then you train yourself to be as efficient as possible, and that eventually builds the pyramid even higher. If you end up only doing one or the other of these exclusively, you're going to neglect one and you'll set this limit for yourself. So hopefully this is something that you all keep in mind as you see your favorite lifters lifting on Instagram, or if your coach gives you that light work or the more repetitions, it's not so heavy. I know it's not fun, but it's a step in the right direction to make yourself as strong as possible. So, as always, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.